In Scotland, despite negative headlines, pro-independence supporters are the favourites in the elections. Nicola Sturgeon, Scotland's First Minister and chairwoman of the independence advocating SNP, can look forward to a narrow absolute majority in the Edinburgh parliamentary elections on May 6th, according to the latest poll. For Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Indyref 2, a second independence vote after the failure in 2014, is therefore acute, with the possibility of Britain being broken up. Johnson attributed that to himself. With a tough Brexit policy pushed through by his Conservatives and rejected by 62% of the Scots, the pupil of the elite school Eton, north of the Tweed, was extremely poorly received. The party, disaffected after the defeat of independence, according to SNP leaders, an opportunity that occurs only once in a generation. Notice steadily increasing poll of those in favour of separation, up to 58%. Boss Sturgeon's values rose in parallel. Then came a damper on the hopes of the SNP that was highly desired by Johnson, but also by the Labour and Liberal leaders. No, not that their poor social and health policies really came into the spotlight. After all, the average life expectancy of men in Glasgow's working class neighbourhoods before the corona crisis was just 57 years. The SNP has ruled Edinburgh for 14 years and cannot excuse itself from the mistakes made by Labour and the Tories. Although Sturgeon fired her health minister, she continues cheerfully despite the fact that she represents a Glasgow Labour constituency herself. But the audience was satisfied even the new Labour leader Anna Sarwar does not get through despite clear government errors. The Tory boss Douglas Ross, a football referee in his spare time, whistles in vain. But human things shimmered through in the form of intrigues at the SNP. Sturgeon's predecessor, Alex Salmond, one of Scotland's most controversial politicians, was tried for molestation of women and attempted rape in the Edinburgh office. He hoped in vain for support from his former protégé Sturgeon. A jury acquitted Salmond, but a taste stuck with him. Sturgeon has proven herself a defender of women's rights, but has won a mortal enemy. Salmond showed her at least inadvertent lies and a fake smear campaign against him. And independent examining magistrate decided in Sturgeon's favor that she was allowed to remain in office. The number of independent supporters fell by 5%, but remained above the 50% mark. Salmond's next move was to found a new party because, as in Western films, the SNP was not big enough for either. Alba, the Gaelic word for Scotland, was launched at a Zoom meeting. According to Salmond, it was supposed to guarantee a supermajority of pro-independent supporters in the new parliament by sucking up the second vote seats that the SNP would lose due to too many electoral districts won. Every Scotsman understood. Salmond actually wanted his enemy Sturgeon to be dependent on him in Parliament and to bring her before him. The new survey even sees this outcome as possible. 65 out of the 129 seats would go to Sturgeon's SNP, 6 would go to Alba and 8 would go to the Greens, who are in favour of the separation. The Conservatives would have 24, Labour 22 and the Liberals 5 seats in Parliament. With this, the SNP could bring the referendum through Parliament. This would then pose great problems for the London Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has so far refused such a vote, but would find it difficult to prevail against the act legitimised by such a clear Scottish election result. And what's the conclusion of this? As in the old Chinese curse, the British live in interesting times. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.